Look! Look, the dynamic duo!
Hey guys, welcome to the Dynamic Duo. I'm Franz.
I'm Kevin. Welcome to the new Batcave and Avengers Tower, everybody. Welcome home.
Hey Kevin, actually lots to talk about. We're going to be reviewing, we're late on this, but we're going to be reviewing the Shang-Chi movie pretty soon. So guys, stay tuned for that. That should be coming up pretty soon. Lots of news, lots of awesome trailers. First of all, I want to give a shout out. We due to Kevin's work, we had a burst of subscribers. We're up to like how many subscribers now, Kevin?
I think we're close to 40. We're either 39 or 40. And even though that number may seem small to anybody else, it's a substantial jump for us. A couple of months ago, we had 4 people. So it's thank you everybody. It really means a lot. And between myself and Franz, we really appreciate the support.
And I want to give a shout out to a couple of people. Darnell has been with us from the beginning, and I'm drawing a blank, but those of you who have been with us from the very beginning, thank you. Had a great conversation with Infinity. And we're going to do a show about that. So Infinity, stay tuned for that, about Stan Lee and his legacy and what it means, and his relationship with Kirby and who deserves the credit and all that other good stuff. But Kevin, what would you like to start the show with? And by the way, we say this, guys. First of all, like, subscribe, it helps us. Second of all, share. And third of all, let us know. Let us know what format you like. We're going to try to keep the topics to a 10-minute time limit. Or let us know if that works for you, or if you want it shorter, or if you want it longer for our discussions to just flow. Certainly, this show is about just discussion. So there were going to be times when the discussion, if it stays on topic, it could run for an hour. It is what it is. When Kevin and I start talking, we don't stop talking. But what happens is that the topics change. So we can break that up into several little shorter pieces. But if we happen to talk about a topic that's an hour long, you're just going to have to either switch off or endure. But anyway, we really appreciate your support, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Kevin, what's the first topic you'd like to talk about?
I've got to have your opinion on the new Matrix film coming out.
Oh. Great one. So first of all, I think the trailer looks really, really good.
You seem particularly triggered right now. Can you tell me what happened?
I've had dreams that weren't just dreams. Am I crazy?
We don't use that word in here.
If you want the truth, Neo, you're going to have to follow me.
The only thing that matters to you is still here. I know it's why you're still fighting and why you will never give up. You don't know me, no?
After all these years, to be going back to where it all started. Back to the Matrix.
Second of all, I'm there no matter what. I'm there. I'm there, and I'm there with bells on. The Matrix movie is one of the greatest movies ever made, in my humble opinion. It's a transformative, life impact, forever movie that's holding up to this day. Like you can watch The Matrix, as my daughter did, and have the experience that I had, what is it now, 20 years ago. It's that good of a movie. Obviously, there were some issues with the sequels. I didn't hate the sequels by any stretch of the imagination. I certainly understood the letdown that the third one was. And I don't mean the letdown in terms of the delivery of the product, but I mean, you know, I get that Neo dying in the end, you know, was kind of a deflating thing. You want your hero to survive. So I'm a huge Matrix fan. And as a result, I'm excited about this trailer. Having said that, dude, it's like the Matrix is the Matrix. And can you outdo the Matrix? And can you do it again? And you know, so those questions are in my mind. And I worry, you know, the Wachowski sisters, it's only one directing this movie. And the influence, I mean, you know, there are questions as to where the sisters got their material from and the source. And I wonder if that source, whether it's the Invisibles or the other stuff, if it's going to be there, because there's no sequel of those things. And so, listen, I'm excited, I'm worried, but I'm there. What's your thought?
Partner.
What's your thought?
If I may, and it's rather bizarre, and I know, ladies and gentlemen, we say this a lot during the shows, but it's amazing how you and I are almost on the same pages literally every time we speak.
That's funny, it is.
I am looking forward to this movie, but I am looking forward to this movie with a dangling carrot hanging in front of me because I'm scared. A lot of what the trailer showed in a bizarre way takes me back to what they did with The Force Awakens.
Yes.
And it's not that I'm trying to relate everything back to Star Wars in spite of me being a fan. But the thing is this. I'm almost afraid they've repeated too much of what they started. And although the movie looks exciting, you know, it's got all of your action and explosions and all that good stuff combined, I'm afraid they've sacrificed a huge chunk of what was the original trilogy, regardless of whether you like the other two or not, in favor of almost everything in Hollywood right now is a reboot, or at least a lot of it is. And this is something that Tinseltown's been trying to get off the ground for a long time. And it's not that I'm against it, but part of my trepidation about it is that ever since the John Wick material had gotten done, you know, and gotten started, Hollywood started to come a-calling with Keanu Reeves and company to go back to the Matrix. As much as I want to see this movie, I'm afraid that this might be, even though it's been 20 years, and yes, Star Wars and other things took even longer to come back, I'm afraid this might be a little too much, too little, too late.
Ooh, beautifully said. Too much, too little, and too late. I definitely get your point. I definitely, and brilliant observation between that and The Force Awakens. Because you could almost see this trailer as a remake of the first Matrix. That's scene for scene type of situation, scene for scene. We don't know yet what that means. We don't know yet what that means. We don't know if it's a retelling. Force Awakens was basically retelling the Star Wars movie. I mean, it was just like, you know, story for story. And it was an interesting thing for me, because for me as a non-Star Wars fan, I watched the movies, I appreciated the effort of Force Awakens. And again, I'm speaking as a non-fan. Please don't hate me if if it's sacrilegious, but it is an interesting point. But it is, it should be an interesting point of view. As a non-fan, how do we perceive this stuff? And for me, what I liked about Force Awakens was that it did harken back to sort of the original material. It did try to bring us back to Star Wars. I didn't like episodes 1, 2, and 3. I thought that deviated too far. I thought it was a little too campy. So in that sense, I kind of liked Force Awakens because it kind of harkened back. Having said that, I did think it was a little too close. Too much of the exact retelling of the Star Wars movies, of the first, the 3, 4, and 5. I mean, 4, 5, and 6. So the question is that what's going to happen with the Matrix? I don't know. Right now, and this is not a spoiler, it's speculation, and you guys are free to have as much speculation. I think what they're probably going for is a retelling in a continuous way, meaning Neo, Neo was in the dark just as in the first one. Well, this Neo will be in the dark as well. He will have a lingering suspicion in the back of his mind, just as the first one. He will have that in this one. He will be introduced to the new worlds, into the Matrix, by someone, just like the first one. And he will start to reconnect and connect the pieces. And so the similarities will be there. What you do with it from that point on, if you continue to do the Morpheus scenes, then it gets ridiculous. But if you awaken Neo and then somehow develop a new, exciting and dynamic story, then that could work. So it depends on what they do with it.
The last piece that I'll mention about this, for both you and the rest of the public that may not know, and I'm not saying that you don't know, but just in case you don't, this is supposed, and what you just said is directly on point all the way around, because this is not going to be, or at least it's not supposed to be, the final Matrix movie. They have already begun to set this up as a brand new trilogy of material.
Wow.
So it's one of these kind of things where, and I think the succession and progression of anything else is going to be based on how well this does. It's again, it's a little bit like the success of the John Wick movies.
Yeah.
There is another John Wick film coming.
Yeah.
At one point, Keanu was filming sections of the new John Wick and the new Matrix back to back.
Ooh, I wonder why. I wonder if that's why he had to keep the look. The essentially he looks, which is a big mistake, I think, in my opinion, because now I'm seeing. Forgive me for interrupting you, and please continue. But I was saying I think it's a mistake because when I'm seeing Keanu in the Matrix, I'm seeing John Wick, and the directors should not have allowed that to happen. But go on.
You are 100% correct with what you said. It couldn't have been said any better. A number of studios and stars are starting to do this anyway. This is becoming a constant thing where you have people that are crisscrossing into different genres and different pieces. And the problem is that if it's not handled correctly, you've got characters crossing over into other things, even if the actors don't mean it to, it happens. And I'm just worried with this immediate thing of, okay, we're going to do a brand new Matrix trilogy. It's part of me doesn't even think this deserves or needs a brand new trilogy.
I agree. I agree.
You killed your lead.
I agree.
You've come up with an explanation or way of bringing him back. This is again why I said it's too much, too little, and maybe too late, because they just may have waited too long to do this.
Brilliantly said. Brilliantly said. And I love that. Too much, too little, too late. And too soon.
Well, see, one of the other problems is there was apparently some sort of a problem with Larry Fishburne returning.
Yes, apparently he reported that he wasn't contacted,
Yeah,
which is strange. Maybe because he got too fat and too old. but he said he wasn't contacted. So do you know anything about why he wasn't contacted, or what the beef was, or
part of it, from what I understand, and this is my worry for the movie, is that in some way, I think he had a little bit of input in the past in terms of what they did with his character. And from what I understand, he wasn't happy with what they were trying to do. There had been some early reports, and I don't know how true this is, that they did manage to snag him for one quick cameo before this thing is over with, but that hasn't been validated yet.
Interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if he makes a cameo. I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that he's in this movie somehow, somewhere. I wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying that that's what's gonna. The thing about The Matrix is that it's a very complicated and complex movie. It hits so many notes. It's not just an action movie. It's not just the most innovative action movie of its time, which reset the standard for action movies from that point on. Like, every movie that we see here, if it's action, it's influenced by The Matrix, because there was pre-Matrix action and post-Matrix action in American movies. But the reason why The Matrix was so powerful and so unique is because the Wachowski brothers at the time, and sisters right now, tapped into pre-existing stuff, whether it's anime, whether it's John Woo movies, whether it's, comic books. They tapped into it 1,000%, and they drew the goodness, the marrow of all those things and brought it into The Matrix, and they did so brilliantly. So they didn't create anything, but they just maximized what was already there. That's also true. So it's not just a wonderful, fantastic action movie, but it's also brilliantly intellectual, deeply complex, with with philosophical, existential type questions. So the question is, they tapped into other resources for that brilliance as well. I don't blame them or fault them for that, because you know what? You bring your stuff together and you produce what you do. The question that I have in my mind is, and I think that's where Matrix 2 and 3 failed. They had the action, they had the innovation, they pulled from the current, material, but it didn't have the intellectual, at least to the same level as the first Matrix. And so will this Matrix, is there a resource of philosophical ponderings that they're drawing from to say, let's look at this and bring that intelligence to this movie? If they don't, and it's a very tricky, difficult thing to do, because unlike Matrix, was it 2 or 3, it can't be obvious, it can't be over the top. Don't explain it to me, don't give me a speech, you know what I mean? So it's a difficult thing to do. So the question is, will they be able to pull that off? And that's we have to wait and see for that.
Yes.